Welcome back to the ChessGoals YouTube channel. This is Matt Strats number 4. In the Matt Strats series, we go over strategy concepts for intermediate and advanced level players. This is a game from a ChessGoals VIP member. Both players are rated in the 1800s lichess rapid ratings. And in this position, Black played pawn to c6 in the game. And if you look at this position prior to pawn to c6, you can note that already Black is a bit behind in development. They took the time to put their queen on c8. There's only 2 minor pieces out. White has 3 minor pieces out in addition to the queen, and an extra center pawn. So there's an extra d pawn for White, and it's also a pawn on the 4th rank. Black doesn't have any pawns on the 5th rank. So when you see pawn to c6 for Black, this is a very passive move. And typical of Matt Strats videos, I want you to pause the video here and think about what are the imbalances in the position, what's the eval, and what is the best move for White. So go ahead and put the eval and the best move for White in the comments after you pause the video. And now I'm going to go through the answer and talk about why it's the strongest move. So the best move is pawn to e4 for White. There's a couple other moves here that are also pretty good, castle being one of them and knight to h4. But the strongest move by at least half a pawn is pawn to e4. And the reason this is so good is because it takes full control of the center. White puts pawns on d4 and e4, and it's played with a tempo on the bishop on f5. So this is already a 2-pawn advantage for White. And let's go through a few moves just to see why this is a 2-pawn advantage, but essentially it's going to be due to space and a lead in development for White. So we see bishop to g6 by Black, pawn to h4. Threatening pawn to h5, already trapping this bishop on g6. So let's say Black plays pawn to h6, trying to give that bishop an escape square. Now White can play pawn to a4, and this is a prophylactic move. It prevents pawn to b5 for Black. So pawn to b5 would be a way for Black to kind of fight back and get some extra space in the position. So by playing this prophylactic move a4, even though we're not developing the last minor piece, we're not castling, that's a very strong prophylactic move a4, because what White's doing is White's controlling both flanks. White has queenside control and kingside control, and we've already noted the center control with the pawns on d4 and e4. So look at this. These pawns control all of these squares on the 5th rank. This is a dominant position for White. Let's go a couple moves deeper. Knight to e7, Black is preparing to castle, and there's no knight to f6 here due to the fork, pawn to e5. So after knight to e7, White can play pawn to h5, kicking this bishop off of g6. And after the bishop retreats, pawn to g4. And at this point now we can start to see why White is up a full 2 points. So we already talked about the full control of the position. So White's controlling queenside, White's controlling the center, and White's controlling the king side. And interestingly enough, just today we were having a discussion about this type of position in our Discord server, the ChessGoals Discord server. And sometimes players feel like maybe they get wins due to luck, or their opponents get wins due to luck. But oftentimes it's not actually due to luck. So if Black were to make a mistake in this position, where White's already up 2 points according to Stockfish, would you consider that a lucky win for White if White's able to capitalize on it? I don't think so, because when you have a position that's dominant like this, it's much more likely that Black is going to make a typical mistake. So I like to think of chess positions in terms of odds. If we can increase the odds of the opponent making a mistake, that's not lucky for us when they make a mistake, right? That's just more likely to happen that they're going to make a mistake in the position. So that's what White has done here. White has set up this dominant position in the first 12 moves, full strategic control, and even though that +2, it's not real straightforward to say, here's exactly how White's going to capitalize on that. It's going to be dependent on what Black plays, and it's very difficult for Black to find good moves here. So that's something I want you to keep in mind in your own games. If you can play a solid positional game and put some pressure on your opponent eventually, place your pieces well, grab the space when given the opportunity, control segments of the board when you can, put all those factors together, and that's going to lead to your opponent making more mistakes than you on average, and that's going to get you more wins. And this works at any level in chess. So this isn't just for intermediate and advanced level players. This will work up to master level and beyond. So look for these strategic concepts. Here we're talking about board control and space, putting the pawns in the center, developing quickly. So that's Math Strats number 4. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll see you in the next Math Strats.